Imagine finding a machine that quietly creates money, not millions overnight, not some weird internet scam, a real machine, one that keeps working even when you're tired, even when you're busy, even when you're asleep. Sounds impossible, right? That's exactly what Steve thought, because Steve spent most of his life believing that money only came from work. No work, no money. Simple. Or at least, that's what he thought. Then one day, Steve discovered something strange. Some people seem to have built a machine, not a physical machine, a financial machine. And once he understood how it worked, he couldn't stop seeing it everywhere. This is Steve. Steve likes watching videos about money. He likes productivity hacks, business stories, success podcasts. Every week he'd hear someone say, "Make money while you sleep." And every time he rolled his eyes, because Steve had a job, a normal job. And from his perspective, money came from effort, hours worked, tasks completed, problems solved. That's how the world worked. Until one conversation changed everything. One afternoon, Steve met an old friend. Nothing special, just coffee, small talk, life updates. Then his friend casually mentioned something. "I made money this morning before I even woke up." Steve laughed. Seriously, he thought it was a joke, but it wasn't. And that sentence stayed in his head all week because Steve realized something. If money only came from hours worked, how was that possible? The first mistake Steve made was believing that wealthy people work less. Many actually work very hard. The difference is they build systems. Most people sell hours. Systems create value repeatedly. Imagine a baker. He bakes one loaf, gets paid once. Now imagine someone who creates a recipe book. That recipe can be sold thousands of times. Same effort, different outcome. That's when Steve realized something. The money machine wasn't magic, it was leverage. Steve started paying attention, and he noticed something. Every successful person seemed to own something: a business, a skill, a product, an audience, a website, an investment, something that continued creating value after the work was done. Steve owned none of those things, which explained why every month felt the same: work, paycheck, bills, repeat. By the way, if you've ever felt like you're working hard but somehow not getting ahead, you're definitely not alone. That's why this channel exists: simple stories, practical money lessons, no fake guru nonsense. Just real ideas that actually work. And if that's your thing, consider subscribing. Now let's get back to Steve, because this is where things started getting interesting. Steve assumed he'd need a business, employees as investors, a fancy office. Turns out he needed none of those things. He started with something tiny, a simple skill, something useful, something people would pay for. At first, it felt insignificant: a small project, a small opportunity, a small amount of money. But Steve learned something important. Every large machine starts as a tiny one. Then Steve discovered a trick, a surprisingly powerful one. Whenever someone complained about something, he paid attention, because complaints often reveal opportunities. "This takes too long." Opportunity. "I hate doing this." Opportunity. "I wish someone could help me." Opportunity. Most people hear frustration. Steve started hearing demand, and demand is where money lives. Here's the part nobody told Steve. The fastest way to build a money machine isn't finding a perfect idea. It's becoming useful. Seriously. Useful people see opportunities everywhere. Useful people solve problems. Useful people get recommended. Useful people get paid. Steve stopped asking, "How do I make money?" and started asking, "How can I become more useful?" That question changed everything. The next thing Steve built was a skill stack, not one amazing skill. Several decent skills: writing, communication, organization, basic marketing, problem solving. Nothing extraordinary, but together, they became surprisingly valuable. And value attracts opportunities. One evening, Steve looked back and noticed something. The money wasn't coming from one source anymore. A little from here, a little from there. A project, a skill, a small asset, a recommendation, an opportunity. And suddenly, he understood. He wasn't building income, he was building a machine. Every piece made the whole system stronger. Most people think a money machine prints cash. That's not what Steve discovered. A real money machine creates value again and again: a useful skill, a trusted reputation, a loyal audience, a simple product, an investment, a system. Those things keep working long after the initial effort, and that's why they become powerful. Steve spent years looking for shortcuts, looking for secrets, looking for lucky breaks. The truth was much simpler. Anyone can build a money machine, not overnight, not instantly, but piece by piece, skill by skill, opportunity by opportunity. The machine isn't hidden. Most people just never start building it. Remember Steve, the guy who thought money only came from working more hours. The guy who thought successful people knew some secret. The guy who spent years searching for the shortcut. His breakthrough wasn't finding a money machine. It was realizing he could build one. And once he understood that, his entire relationship with money changed. If you enjoyed Steve's story, hit the like button and tell me in the comments, what's one skill you already have that could become part of your own money machine? Writing, design, teaching, organization, problem solving? I'd love to read your answers. And if you want more practical money lessons, wealth building strategies, and stories that make finance easier to understand, subscribe and join us for the next episode. Because building wealth isn't about finding a secret machine. It's about building one yourself.